Alright, finally we're going to talk about function notation. And function notation has f of x instead of a y. And why this is helpful is because you can be given a problem like this where it says f of 2. And it says find the value of the function for f of 2. All that means is wherever there was an x, because it should have been f of x, wherever there was an x you're going to put a 2. So f of x equals 9x minus 5. So you're going to put a 2 in for x. So f of 2 is equal to 9 times 2 minus 5. So I replace the x with a 2, and all you have to do is just simplify. So 9 times 2 is 18, minus 5, equals 13. So that's it for function notation, or that's the difficulty at the beginning of function notation. Of course, we make it a little bit more complicated because now we start giving two different equations. I've got g of x and I've got f of x. F of x is equal to y, and g of x is also another thing that could be equal to y. They're just saying they're different equations. They're not the same equations, they're two different ones. So it says find g of 4. G of 4 means put 4 into the g function wherever there was an x. And don't worry about the f function. So we only put it in the g function because it says g of 4. So I say negative parentheses 4 squared plus 5 parentheses times 4 minus 3. The way I look at these equations is that wherever there's an x, x's are just parentheses that you're going to put something in for. And then once you do that, you just simplify. So I do 4 squared first. Don't do negative 4 squared. It's 4 squared, so it's negative 16 plus 20 minus 3. And then you go ahead and further simplify. You get 4 minus 3 equals 1. Your final answer for that problem is 1. So g of 4 equals 1. So now I continue, and it says find g of q. Well, that means all I have to do is put q in place of x. So it's going to be negative q squared plus 5 times q minus 3. There's nothing I can do because all I did was replace x with q. And then, now this next problem says do something with the g and the f equation. So I need to find g of 4. Well, I already did that. The answer was 1. I don't have to do it again if I already know the answer is 1. G of 4 is 1, and then it says subtract f of 2. Well, that means minus parentheses of whatever f of 2 is. So the nice thing here is that I should go over to the f function and figure out what f of 2 is. 9 times 2 minus 5. Well, we already found that answer is 18 on the last slide. So the answer is 18, so I just put it right there. It's 1 minus 18 because the g equation, or g of 4 was 1, and the f of 2 was 18, so 1 minus 18 is negative 17. And then it says find g of x plus 1. So I got to do a little bit more work, which means that wherever there was an x, I need to put an x plus 1 in parentheses. A little bit more complicated. So that will rewrite this to be 2 parentheses x plus 1, close parentheses, plus 3. So as you can see here, the x got replaced by this group of x plus 1. Now once you do that, you need to go ahead and simplify, and I simplify by distributing the 2, and that's going to give me a 2x plus 2, and then the outside there was plus 3, and then you further simplify and reduce to get 2x plus 5. And that would be your final answer for this g of x plus 1. Okay. So now it says for this function find f of 3. Okay. Well, if you're given a relation like this one, all it means is if you've got f of 3, this f of x is equal to a y value. Well, if x is 3, so the question is then, is what y value do you have when x is 3? So if x is 3, what would be the y value that corresponds with that? So that's what we're trying to look for. So you go up here and you find an x value of 3, and the corresponding y value is 1. So the answer is 1 for this first problem. Okay? And now in the mapping diagram, you'll see some problems like that. First of all, you'll actually have arrows like this. And so down in the mapping diagram problem, your answer, if you follow the line, the arrow from the 3 goes to the 12. So your answer for this one, f of 3, would be 12. So it's whatever the y value is when you're looking at that certain x value. The answer for this particular one was 12. If I was to erase and change the problem a little bit, if I change the arrows like this, well, now the answer for f of 3, if I follow the arrow, is 6. So it's whatever the arrow from the number you're looking for x goes to. And finally, you'll see some on the graph, on a grid. It says find f of 4. Well, what that means is the x value is 4. What's the y value that goes with that? So you go on your graph and you count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you go up and you see what your point is. The point goes right there. So the y value then is 1, 2, 3. And finally, I do it for f of 0. And again, that means my x value is 0. What's the y value that goes with that? So I go 0, and it just so happens that it goes through the origin, so the y value there is also 0. If I was to do another one like f of negative 2, I would go negative 1, 2, and go down, and it actually doesn't touch at a certain point. It looks like negative 1.5, so I would say negative 1.5. I'll estimate. Okay?